Hello, my name is Tyler, and I am tonight's host of Wandered Off. We just ended our campaign that spanned over a year. This little show is to talk about that campaign and the new campaign that will be starting soon, featuring a lot of the same characters, but now thrust into a world formed from reality breaking apart. So we have our table here. Over there. I don't know what. Tonight we have our players, Ryan Neighbor, Ryan Cassidy, Cheyenne, and Josh joining us remotely. But real quick, please introduce yourselves and the characters that you played over the last year or couple months.
Here, yes. Uh, I am Ryan. I play Escada the Winged, as well as Peanut Ilsa. Now that that's out of the way, I'm going to take this off so people can actually somewhat hear me. Yeah. So, Escara is my Aarakocra rogue, swashbuckler. To, he was raised on a pirate ship, uh, by his captain Bafshar, until one day his captain and crew were all brutally slaughtered. He was out to seek justice for them and got caught up in a lot of bigger stuff than he intended to. And then Kenon, uh, half elf, born of elven nobility in the Ilfar family. Being a half elf, he was an outcast amongst his people, and pretty much took up a vow to reform the way his people thought and acted around those outside of their group.
Uh,
Yep. Hi, my name is Cheyenne Neighbor. I play Opal of the Verdant Vale. Opal, a little bit about her backstory is that she had grew up in Waterdeep. She didn't know anybody of the same race as her. She was a Earth Genasi, so that basically means a rock for those of you that don't know much about that race. And so opal meaning that she literally has opals coming out of her skin. She uh, was raised by a adopted grandmother, and she had opened up a herbal shop, and one day had gotten a warning from her best friend Cassandra, who is a half elf, that she was going to be run out of the town because people didn't trust Opal for the way that she looked. She had went out into the forest, having nowhere else to go, and Obed High, a god, had come to her and gave her powers and asked her to join a druid circle. Um, Starting off her little campaign with the rest of the group.
right. And Ryan Cassidy, I played Lysander, I'm still playing. He is a shifter werewolf, arcane trickster rogue, lunar sorcerer,
Oh,
with a classic rogue background, parents leaving, dead adopted mother, seeking out to find some sort of purpose in his life, and ends up getting a anonymous quest, I guess you could call it, to steal the prism from the rest of the party, uh, failing and taken captive of the party, and over the couple of weeks, yeah, managed to befriend him, and is now a werewolf king.
Dead family rogues.
First,
Yeah, so my name is
my name's
Josh.
Josh.
I
I
play
play
Harrison in our
Harrison in our
campaign.
campaign.
Ooh, holy echo. Anyway, he was a ranger in prison, and
and
other
other
character I
characters I
played
played
was
was
Gandhi.
Gandhi.
There was a little
There's
bit
a
of
little bit of
touch
touch
basis on
basis
him with
on
a
him
one
with the one
shot,
shot,
and my other
and my
character
other
was
character was
Mandos.
we ended up being very important to some parts of our story. Yeah, cool.
What?
All right. Now, before we get started with the main portion, I wanted to make a few announcements. Firstly, some of our costumes were donated by friends. We just want to thank you if you were a part of that. And then this stream and our regular streams always feature a cause. We are approaching Mental Health Awareness Month. We've made that our priority. Now, through that month and time after, many here have anxiety, depression, have felt loss of a loved one through suicide, and we are proud to be raising money for Hardheads. They make mental health treatment accessible for those who need it. The second is all of this would not be possible without our producer, Ryan Cassidy. This show, our mainstream, have all been designed and programmed by him. Brian works 2 jobs and does the work here to make this possible, including this live show and the transition to everything. And with that, let's give a little shout out to him and check out what he does. All right, welcome back. We are just pulling up the chat so that way I can see that. Get here. That was right. We're a small stream with no budget. We don't have a million screens here.
We have a budget. His name is Ryan Cassidy.
No, it's called Parallax Productions, and it's called a tax write-off.
There you go. I like it.
What was the inspiration for your character? Brian, I guess we'll start with you again.
Okay. So I'll start with Ascara. Oh God. What was the name of the character?
Asana.
Because I remember I have it pulled up. So while I'm so a lot of the inspiration came from pirate movies like Pirates of the Caribbean, kind of made me wanting to play a pirate-esque character. Solano, that's the name of the character. So the actual inspiration for Ascar himself, a bird Aarakocra pirate, came from none other than the My Little Pony movie.
Yes.
There is one of the coolest characters in that entire movie is a technically she's a parrot, but it's a bird pirate. And I'm like, this is a dope concept. And so I wanted to adapt it over here. And so that was kind of the birthplace of Ascara. The voice itself, I kind of derived from Tiadama from the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, where I tried to mimic that similar accent. And the personality and a bit of the aesthetic was kind of came from almost like a Sinbad feel. There's a lot of different areas that it came from to form in. for Kenon, it mostly started as it literally started as this Blade Singer subclass looks really cool. I'm gonna make something with it. So I actually made out the character level 1 from the subclass itself, and it was kind of like built on from there to actually create Kenon. So the Ascara started with the character, and the mechanics came later. Kenon started with the mechanics, and the character came later. A lot of the duality of the martial and the arcane with the Blade Singer, and so I wanted the duality with having a half elf, the human and the elf. And so everything kind of built out from there. Also, Zenk from the Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves did definitely play a part in Kenon's aesthetic because he's dope.
Right, and
Okay, so I actually suck at character creation. I will spend days, if not weeks, knowing I have character coming up. Unlike my husband here, who has always torturing
Something
me.
character from
Yes.
D&D Beyond.
Yes. It has so many characters and constantly coming up with new character concepts. Oh, it took me a while. So I decided that I wanted to do something that could be a little bit of everything. So I decided I wanted to try to look at a character that could fill multiple positions. So I was like, I'll try a druid. Yeah, I like nature. I'm a gardener, stuff like that. I'll go with that. And it just everything eventually just kind of started coming together for just thinking, oh, what would be cool, what would be not good. And honestly, Opal ended up getting some inspiration from like, oh, I could make her like a mad scientist. So at the very beginning of the campaign, she was way more chaotic. I had tortured so many characters because I wanted ingredients for my herbal potions. I tortured poor lost boots a tabaxi because I wanted his fur. And I was constantly like taking feathers off of Ascara. So yeah,
Stole a lot of feather. It's okay, I stole some of the vocals early on too.
yes. So yeah, that's kind of how Opal came to be. But she's definitely changed a lot over the campaign. Completely different personality than what she started with.
we'll actually go to Josh, since he was in the campaign more so from the beginning, and with that.
Okay, so
Uh-oh,
the name. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay, so the name Harrison actually comes from a World of Warcraft character I had, which oddly enough was a Worgen. For anybody that's not familiar with that, I guess it's closer to Lysander's character. Worgen are basically just cursed humans that transform into essentially werewolves, but that is where the name comes from. In terms of inspiration, I thought the idea of being a ranger would be interesting, but then multi-class into wizard, and somehow that oddly enough works. Basically, the creation of Pandaros was on a whim. We were being told, hey, one-shot idea tying into the story. I'm like, crap, I have to learn how to do this again, because this is my first campaign.
And then last but not least, Brian, like that. Yeah. So I guess the inspiration for my characters, it started with, I just really like rogues. That's just my shtick. I think every D&D campaign I played in, I played some form of multi-class rogue. Then I had this idea for like a super secret super spy, almost like a Nick Fury of a fantasy world where his secrets had secrets.
So that's kind of where the sorcerer came in and the arcane trickster, but it was so meta magic that literally the idea was nobody else knew he was casting magic up until the big reveal. Uh, yeah.
Yeah. So from there, when creating your backstory, how much was created along the way versus what surprised you most? You know, for some of you, the creation of the alien race, the werewolf, I think was really cool. And then, the wizard aspect of Harrison was all something that we had created. But what were some things that you guys took from all of that? We'll start with Axel.
I guess we can start. Yeah. Well, it's funny. There was a lot that changed episode to episode behind the scenes with Lysander. 'Cause I'm like, hey Tyler, I think this is a great idea. Hey, what do you think about this? But like the backstory shell was the classic rogue story. Parents left him, adopted mother died, goes out to find purpose. And then the werewolfness was like, I think we're like the second or third episode in of me playing. I'm like, what do you think if I was secretly a werewolf and I didn't even know it yet?
Yeah. I think a lot of that came from the letter, which was, we were talking like, hey, what maybe would I call you? And we're like, wolf. They're like,
Yeah.
We can now add this whole life and backstory in. And, I went from there, you're like, I don't know if my mother's dead, like, I don't know if my adopted mother, we ended photos over, like, lichen change, like, form, and, then, like, as your stuff started to come out, it's like, oh, we gotta take care of this guy. And, like, what does that look like?
That was interesting because obviously being a somewhat seasoned player, I understood like when creating a backstory, there was some ambiguity to it to leave up to the DM to surprise me. Because especially being the production manager of this, I don't, I get let in on a lot of the secrets ahead of time because we got to create content whenever we stream. But to have that thrown at me, I was just like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It was actually really insane just how he tied that all in. Like, in a matter of episodes, really.
Yeah.
I played like maybe 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not a lot. But a lot has been really progressive. And then speaking of like things that just happened, we had the death of many things, which led to probably one of the weirdest things of someone gaining a level and then becoming a wizard from a ranger. So Josh, your backstory kind of changed more so in like your development. But throughout your time being, what things surprised you most?
If I had to say, I'd say a lot of the story elements were the biggest surprise for me. Twins, the whole town of Honeyberry, just the whole world building environment around me was just such a nice thing to see and watch it develop. I think that was the biggest surprise.
Now, your backstory featured death parents, which I think is across the board. It's fun to do right. I think your backstory was you came back to a destroyed town. Your parents weren't there. You never got that closure, and then you actually had to fight your parents. What was that like for your parents? And what was it like as a role playing moment?
It was definitely a struggle, just obviously as it would be for one, having to realize that your parents aren't there and suddenly it's an adversary in your way. It's a pretty emotional heartstring to tug at.
Heartstring. As we go into that, really one of the biggest heartthrobbs of the campaign. Magma.
No. I was ready to start talking. I'm like, yes, I know a scar. It's amazing. So
you gave me, and we'll touch on this later, but your backstory featured a couple things like, without going into the romance of the people, what shocked you most, like when your backstory started to be explored? Whether that's what you learned in the castle, in the other realm, versus your stuff now.
Well, Opal actually doesn't know her parents, so knowing that kind of like her and Magma were the only ones of their race, and they just so happened to have met in this world was a surprise. I was expecting just, with Needs going, hey, I want to play an Earth Genasi, and I wasn't expecting it just to be me and Magma being the same race. That I know.
I was out. There is still a bit of mystery because you saw one more Genasi
Right,
that is yet to make an appearance.
right.
And so I think that's another thing that we still get to look at.
Yeah. And yeah, who knows? Maybe Opal will even get to meet her parents. She has no idea where she comes from. And Hestra found her.
Yeah.
So
And then we have Skada. So you got your backstory for a lot through the campaign, as there are several other parts that give you a little bit more that the other things like experience. But what are some things that have been with surprise you when you're back?
Yeah, so first of all, not being born of this world. Well, technically I was born of this world, not laid of this world though.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big one. Um I had it I tend to write character backstories from the perspective of the character I'm playing. So if there's not information my character doesn't have access to, it's not written in my backstory. So the whole part of like my backstory stated that Bokshar was this and his crew, like these evil bloodthirsty pirates, that Ascara he was gonna eat Ascara for breakfast because he had this egg that he found. He'd hatch it or crack it open, eat it for breakfast, and then I just hatched before he could. And pretty much it became that that's the story Ascara was told, not the truth. And that Bokshar actually rescued me from Crate. So that was wild.
That is
Mhm.
and one of those things like they know each other. They're not riding with them like that. They're great. What's meant to be slaughtering it through it's that emotion
Mhm.
where you are. And so I think that was really fun part of being on. Now, Brian, you entered the campaign rather late. Um, what was it like when you group that was already formed, and how did your character struggle with that? Do you think Life Fantasy was more or less hardcore?
Well, at the beginning, for both the character and the player, there was a lot of confusion. Had no idea what the heck was going on. I think for the first like 7 episodes, 8 out of 8, I was still trying to understand the world and the other characters. But
I'd like to point out we did very little work in catching this man up. Getting him up to speed with three.
throughout all these adventures and not really much explanation when you guys have an orphanage. Your large friend is dating your grandma.
Yeah.
And there's this weird old man down the street.
That was news to us too.
That one was a wild ride.
But yeah, I feel like now, after all just the big events at the end of the campaign, we're building up to this massive climax of events. There was a lot of bonding going on. And I mean, I feel like even still, Lysander's character, is very shut people out. So he's almost still like on that sense of like, yeah, I feel a part of the group and I can roll with these folks, but also at any split second could just go off and do his thing. Just that's what he's used to. He's used to doing his thing and not really trusting any sort of friendship. In his backstory, a little bit more on that. Good part of the Montarum criminal organization, which basically left him for dead and tried to kill him. So he's very resentful towards words.
But Fern did say leave on me, so
Yeah, and
he accepted it.
Catherine, I think they have this thing. They don't have the music.
and there's no way for us to monitor it. Yeah, so it's like very last minute set.
Okay, if Josh wants to mute himself for a second and play the audio through his speaker and let us know we go a little bit. We can find out.
Yeah, you know this. Yeah, this is pretty much a little more profitable. We got everything set up moment before I worked pretty late, and we got doctors got that, got everything set. So it's pretty running good for I think it's all pretty well. But yeah, let's go to the next one. What were of your favorite three? So we'll start with
Okay. Oh boy, favorite moments of the camp. I'm not going to touch on the romance. I know you have romance questions coming, but that would be probably my favorite. But besides that, um, getting
That's not what we're seeing, but that's on the floor.
It's the leather arm is killing me.
You see the top of his head at like the bottom of the frame when he pokes up like something. Hang up, man, you know,
Wait,
that's go ahead and continue talking.
no, like favorite moments of the campaign would probably be me torturing the heck out of Lost Boots, definitely. And then also getting to see the druid circle that I put into my backstory. It was a lot more chaotic than I expected. I knew that I made Opal a hippie, but I didn't realize it was going to be a drug-filled hippie druid circle. That I'm like, oh, so I've been a part of this now. Okay, this is not what I imagined. Yes. And then I just love the tea shops with the druid circle too.
I think that was one of the like coolest things because like you start to interact with it and it's like you go to the shop and like it's a tea shop but you have like oh yeah you want like drugs like it's give her back like I'm ordering it. Here you go.
Eight.
Like wait what's race? Adult for your race.
My race if I'm the only one that exists.
Shoot. Let's just go back and retcon that episode. What are you?
What are you?
Okay, so my first one is like it was actually something that happened way before we started actually streaming, but it was the first time the party met Crate.
Yeah.
And for those of you who don't know, or because we weren't streaming yet, So Ascara was put face to face with his supposedly dead Captain Bokshar, as well as Parison with his supposedly dead mom and dad. It ended up we had it was such a cool moment because there's so much tension there, so you could just feel something wasn't right in the air. And it turns out that they were what was the doppelgangers? Okay, and we ended up having to fight and kill these people that we cared about, and then we met Kraith, the man that we had been searching for, who was not a man at all, but a fae being. So there's a lot of reveal there and some very emotional moments.
I think I know that China and I talked a little bit of it, but one of the biggest like moments there too, like you have all this emotional buildup of like having to fight these people that you love. And in the city, you have been caring for these two orphans,
Oh,
rescued them from the city.
yes.
And after all this emotional affliction, you find out they're doppelgangers. Uh, you're at the very end, and then you hear, "Hi, Daddy," and like the twins now like behind you, and you're like, "This can't be like these are kids that we have grown like connected to,
Right.
love, and to find out that they are fake kids, fake beings of your big bad. What was that like?"
Oh my goodness. Okay, so yeah, so Opal was chaotic before she had met the twins. And then once she had met the twins, she started caring for them. She took on this mothering type role. She would literally, if the kids were like scared or whatever, she would shapeshift into like a wolf to like protect them and cuddle near them, be warm them up, whatever. And sometimes she would like, if they were scared, go into their room to sleep or whatever. That broke Opal. That broke her. That is where like the start of all of like Opal's trauma. Like everybody who's watched the stream has seen just Opal from just all the trauma she's been through. They never saw the huge personality shift and then becoming numb to all of the death and losing so much. Like that changed my character.
Well, at the moment, it happened sort of behind. So it really sucks that those moments weren't there. But it's something that we may get to see more of this week. Do. Now,
More trauma for both.
have a lot more memories of those moments because they are all the last 10 or so sessions. What would you say your favorite moment would have been?
It'd be in the very first episode that I played in. So you know where I'm going with this. When I'm trying to get away with the prism and I take on the identity of the librarian and completely fool our Birdman with a passive perception of 26. He's like, yeah, that's a librarian.
You're a librarian?
Wait, you're the librarian?
Poor Scott.
Scar is still confused about that to this day. Not gonna lie.
Pretty much about.
Sarah, Lysander, librarian, all one and the same.
Literally, Scar disappears, knowing him as Sarum, and then comes back and, who's this Lysander you keep talking about?
And he's a wolf now.
It's a wolf.
Josh, what would you say some of your favorite moments are? You have the deck of many things. You have human relationships, Vandalland. There's a lot of subtle things with Harrison.
Yeah, we definitely had a lot of great moments with this campaign. Like, I think one of the biggest standouts was the fight with Cryovane. Getting my whole little session after Cod had died and getting to use the wish spell to bring him back.
Yeah. I think that was another moment that was, I think, hard for you. I think it was hard for everyone. So when they were fighting this dragon, they had their lovable oak orc come out, help them in the fight, and in the first 10 seconds, gets obliterated like a dragon. Right. Immediately dead. No saving throws, no nothing. And so they spent all this time, and they had a wish spell, and it took a lot of, I think, desire of having him back, like overusing that wish spell for yourselves, and like that just show the relationship that you personally have built with him. I think that's really, really cool aspect there. Now, speaking of that, my campaigns tend to be dark and have these tough moral dilemmas. What are some moments that brought you, your characters, or your character or characters to rock bottom with realization of plot twist with you? So we have, twins. We have all these moments of like, well, what would you say brought your character or characters, Keon, to growth or anger?
Oh, I would say definitely across the entire campaign, Keenan had the biggest moment of where I was physically angry. Like I was ready to flip a table when that child was brought out for the wedding.
Yeah. That
And
was hard for me.
we had to have like a heart to heart conversation after that of like
Yeah.
boundaries and stuff with that.
Yeah.
And
It
knowing
was hugely emotional.
we had a conversation before. It was like, is there something that would make Keenan angry? He goes, no, Keenan would never get angry. And I was like, bet this is a bet. And as we know, now this exists way before. Like if you were never gonna marry her, like that was something that was set up well in advance. But I was like, this is going to be a moment that breaks. Like this is a character with a lot of depth and a lot of personal issues, but he keeps it all in. And I was like, there has to be something that breaks this man. And I was like, it can't be death, it can't be love, it has to be a moral dilemma that breaks it. And I think that did. That was something in which later, so speaking of plot twists, that led to I think one of the biggest twists that I think I saw from you guys at the table was Erebos a Year, who came up and transformed. It was sort of the entire time.
Yeah.
From turning into Vandross for your love scene there, you had a shifter who was keeping everything under control. But so yeah, that was one there. What about Skara?
I mean, a lot of Ascara's that favorite encounter that I just mentioned was a really big one. Getting to see Bokshar there and then gaining pretty much access to Bokshar and a scimitar after that was a big thing for Ascara. But as far as like the moments that broke him, like Coneyberry was a big one. So I think that was all pre-stream as well.
Yeah.
Where there was this town we had just saved and rescued, and we were heroes of the town. Skara's rakish audacity and big personality was just soaking that up, being lavished by the townsfolk. And then the next time we come to that town, it was burned to the ground. There's nothing left of it. The one survivor that we got, the 3 survivors all ended up being.
Some plot twist I think changed a lot of you guys was you had Headcraft Grim, which was this innocent guy who the twins had been manipulating you into believing that he's a bad guy. You locked him up, tortured him, like brutalized this man like this with COD, and you just have like this, and you were raising these kids, and then the kids are bad and the guy was innocent.
Yeah, and that honestly, Sarum got to see a lot of the repercussions of that as well. Because I feel like Ascara, as well as the rest of the party, viewed bringing outsiders close to us very differently after that. So
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Now, what would you say? I think I know the moment because I saw your face drop during the stream, which that video isn't been posted yet on some of the like clips, but
I'm molting.
what would you say moment for you?
See, I don't know if I would call it like broken to rock bottom, but more or less just almost like an overwhelming amount of just emotion would definitely have to be his father reveal being the first. And like, you know, in the moment, like we had taken him down and then we brought him back and I'm like staring at him in the eyes and I just like I can't live with you being alive. I don't even want to talk to you or hear what you have to say. And then the literal key to his heart with his mom, that was just like, for me, as a, even like as a player, like I had my mom growing up, but it almost felt like a flip for me, not having my own dad and having like being able to, for him to see his mom in that way.
Yeah.
Was a really like heavy thing for just me as a player.
Yeah. I mean, it was one thing after another. Like you your dad being like, yeah, you know, it sucks that I had to send those red wizards to kill your mom or your adopted mom and you, like, and you know, you got this nice little bit of uplift, you know, with a lot of my characters and you know the campaigns I run don't get. Um, and so I think it was a very interesting piece to have there, which, yeah, the key to your heart, which wasn't intentional until you said it. I was like, oh man, I really did put a key to heart. Literally. Hopeful. What about you?
Okay. Well, of course, the rock bottom beginning was the twins. After that, literally lost her druid circle because Obed High died, so that fell apart. The Waterdeep losing that, her actual where she grew up is completely destroyed. And then now for spoilers, should I even go right ahead? All right, yeah. So now the whole world's gone. So we just keep piling on the trauma.
Perfect. With hope.
Glad I'm out of that.
He's making a home with Opal. It's fine. Arguments brought bottom or Bandross around bottom.
Probably the time he actually hit rock bottom and disintegrated, but
There was a lot of things that was really dark. One of the first ones is probably losing Eldic, like something was missing to the campaign then. Whenever the vampires first took it, that was a sense of mystery and what's going to happen here. It's just been a lot of death and destruction of the campaign. There's just a lot of good moments.
Yeah, yeah. Cheyenne, you gave me a backstory that included an ex-boyfriend,
Yep.
a grandmother, and a friend who helped you escape town. While playing, you met these characters that had some major moments in the campaign. What was it like being at the table with these people being him? So these guys gave me no people alive to work with.
Right.
So I had to, you know, come up with stuff.
I think mine were alive, a couple of them.
But what was it like meeting that you just, hey, they exist, bring them alive?
Magma? Oh my gosh, magma.
Opal.
why even in death she cannot escape magma.
Yeah. It just magma being so incredibly annoying. I was not expecting the way you had created Magma. I'm like, yeah, here you go. I have Opal has an ex-boyfriend who happens to be the same race, just a fire genasi instead of, Earth. They only dated because they were the same race. That is the only reason. And that's what I gave you. And then just for him to be this like totally obsessed with Opal, just totally won't leave her alone, annoying. I was not expecting.
Plays, and then
God himself. Oh, that's awful.
and then you had Hester, so your
Yes.
grandmother, and the very first time you meet her, I think you all know the first words out of her mouth were
Fireball.
and so you go into town, you go into her home, and it's this black buckler taking over town, like you're being cautious. She's being super scared of the people who might come in and like harm her, and so she has this scroll of fireball ready to go. The very first thing. What was it like meeting your grandmother?
She nearly killed me. Uh, yes, she was absolutely exactly spot on to what I had wrote her down and thought about for her. Being this ex-adventurer who is just absolutely crazy little old lady.
Yeah.
But so fun and loving, and she just absolutely adores Opal, just like, "You nearly killed my granddaughter." Like, yeah, just so much fun.
Two things like that really played in. You look at the existential part, and she being on the party that took the Soul Weaver prism to the other realm to be protected.
Mhm.
And then, of course, my favorite reveal was you return to Phandalin, and Cod is in your house. He has a girlfriend. You go down, breakfast is getting made, and there we have this orcish man, and popping out behind her is Grandma Hestra. What were your feelings of that?
That was odd. I was not expecting that. I'm like, "Oh, no, she is a granny who is going for the younger man." Just one of those grandmas. Just like Opal was just like, "Gran!" Just completely not expecting that. That was a twist that threw me through a loop.
I think Cassandra we didn't get much.
Oh, sadly.
Actually, several moments that were prepared is, getting to see her class and getting to see her in combat, but through just events that happened and party decisions, she departed with
Scar got to see a lot of Cassandra.
Yeah.
We'll get to that on the romance question. And so yeah, it was quite fun bringing these characters to life because you don't get a ton of these moments where you have people with backstory, with people who are alive, as most people so fit.
Right. And like with Cassandra too, I didn't expect her to be a rogue who worked for the Thieves Guild or none of that. Like that, yeah, higher up in the Thieves Guild. And that I did not expect at all. I mean, I didn't have much thought other than she was just, happened to be Opal's best friend and just a little bit different because she was a half elf. Like that's the only thing I had threw at you. So that was a like, oh, she's in the Thieves Guild. Oh, so okay, like it just took me a little while to come to terms with it in game, and just oh, okay, like I wasn't expecting that.
So again, going back to some of the my campaigns, what deaths in game played into your character? Who will you miss, or what death played some of the way that your character changed?
None whatsoever. Lysander is a heartless dude.
It's not true. You killed your dad, had a little bit of an emotional response there.
And then I killed him again.
And then he killed him again. Josh, why don't you start with you because I kicked you on the last question.
Let's see. I think it's a weird question to start with because it's kind of where Harrison's whole necromancy magic started
Yes.
in terms of death. For anyone that's not familiar, like early on before we started streaming, Harrison had believed he brought people back to life. So his whole journey of learning magic has just been to fulfill his like brain dead idea that he knows like healing magic of some sorts.
I brought her back. I heal her. And then you got to experience a couple of that, a couple of moments of why is it not working? It worked before, as you have brought several zombies out who have not been the way that you had expected it.
He'll get the magic right eventually. It's a work in progress. Don't worry about that.
Opal, what deaths would you say affected you or your character?
I mean, it goes back to the whole losing towns and everything. So it's still basically the same question for, because those were all the ones that gave her trauma, and affected her.
Can you name a person? Like who do you think was someone that Opal still thinks about?
Probably, oh no, I'm blanking on his name now. The guy we tortured in town, Petcraft. Yeah, probably him because of she thinks about him. He blew up as soon as he went to leave town, blew up, and because we didn't know that he had a rune in his chest, we had no idea. So that one is still one that she would probably think about.
Scott.
So, in campaign, there wasn't like a lot of people Ascara got super close to directly that died. The larger towns kind of impacted him. The one death that actually occurred in the world that probably affected Ascara more than almost anything else was, it's going to sound weird, but actually Babel's death.
Yeah.
So, he never met another bird person, and to go to this other plane and have, if she had not died there, the interaction may have never happened. And for him to meet this other person, find out she's from the same place as him, from her, and then that it may have been one of the biggest moments in revamping Ascara's drive to put an end to Kraith, to hopefully allow her soul to gain some form of freedom.
Yeah.
For Ascara. And then Kenon, Vandross.
Yeah. That
Like-
was the easy one.
We didn't stream the one shot.
No, we did not.
So you guys didn't get to see Kenon was pretty different in between one shot and campaign, I feel. A lot of the reason, like in the one shot, he identified, I was fumbling back and forth, couldn't decide whether Kenon was going to be more of a neutral alignment or an evil alignment. And the alignment issue actually came up really as a major thing in the one shot.
Mm-hmm.
And Kenon ended up identifying it's evil because there was essentially no connection that would stop him, nothing that he could do to sever himself from his goal of taking over his family and becoming the head and reforming that. Well, here comes episode 1 of him being in our main campaign. Vandross dies and everything changes. The romance and love and stuff was not something that was intended to be for Kenon by any means. He did not have time for them.
It was an accident too.
Yeah, purely. And suddenly there was this thing that severed his focus on his main goal. It's like, well, crap! It literally changed the entire direction of his character in that one moment. So literally character defining.
That I think was, you had such a strong backstory with Kenon, and I'm like, I want to bring that to life. We had that conversation, and I was like, it's really weird. We accidentally like described this death, and all he's thinking about is, I was like, oh yeah, I haven't talked to her. It's like, this is really hard, and it was like, oh, Kenon's in love with Vandross, and it just, I think, drove forward a couple rather intense moments, but then I want to go back to Babel. I think losing a character is really hard. I remember Diane took Babel's death super hard.
Well, that's because I'm one of those people that spends forever on creating a character and a backstory for them that I have a connection with. And so I was just like, no, no, she's dead. Are you kidding me? I took that very hard and I shouldn't have taken it as hard as I did, but it was hard. It's because I'm one of those people. Yes. Yeah, exactly. And it's probably just that theater person in me. I get, into character. I feel my character. I become my character. That type of thing. But and having have spent so much time trying to come up with a character, I connected.
And
That hurt.
I think you really did, at the point side of it was how much her death would play into.
Right.
It was something that I wasn't ready for. Your characters to come into this realm. I set it up like, everyone who dies here suffers here. And I think it was one of the coolest things to set up something later on of, for me as a DM, I said, there's nobody we embraces outside of Scott. So I started, and then like she's like, I spent all this time and I have this character. And then Babel, she's a kinku, and I go, oh,
Yeah.
no. I was like, that changed everything for me. And I'm like, all right, well, I didn't plan your character death. It truly was dice rolls. That was everything. Because one of the conversations we had is, your character's permanent death. And, that was something that we didn't have for the one shot. And I'm like, this is a one shot. Like, there's not going to be too much support, but like, the one person who died during that sprung forward an entire plot that brought some incredible moments like that were driving other characters.
Right.
So, is anyone not into this question?
Oh, I wanted to, sorry, as a final thing, when we were talking about Kenon and Vandross, just to show like how interesting this connection is we were talking on the way, and we talked like Kenon gay, and it's like we're talking on the way, and it's like Kenon's not actually gay. Kenon doesn't love men. Kenon loved Vandross, and so just like, and he didn't even know it at the time. Just it was something that I wanted to put in before we had moved on. It was such a big thing for him.
It's like I moved in on that too. Sorry. Can Rick tell us the Thanksgiving story? No.
What?
So it's back since Australia. Yeah, so the exact date. So we've not watched. Not D&D related. It is a good show.
It is on my list.
Super confused.
It is on my list. Sadly, things like the Fallout series come up and distract me.
So yeah, I think that was an interesting thing. Yeah, you had no other relationships, but what and so it was an interesting thing there. Now going to Escada, and Escada was banished several times. We had learned that Crate created the avian thing. He had part in Genasi being born. You and Babel both being his creation. Hopefully you can also, or Shine, you can hop in just a little bit. Babel But what happened in your banish was off peak. It was something that happened during while we were streaming, but it all happened off peak. It was the hag fight. Bam, Scarlet's asleep. Which I don't know if revealed anything there. You
No, I was just sleeping.
Yeah. I mean, these things just took you to a different place. Talk about where you went and some of the discussions we had off tape.
Yeah, so I was consistently being, and Ascara didn't know it at the time, I was consistently being sent to another dimension. Because an intricacy of the banishment spell is if you are not from that plane of existence, it sends you back to your original plane of existence. So I was traveling back to where I was from on the, we would find out the ship that my egg was originally taken from. So Ascara got to spend a lot of time exploring the ship, um, checking out a lot of the stuff on the ship. Muted you. Oh, that was you, I think.
Plug it? Did it?
Maybe. But yeah, so I spent a lot of time exploring the ship and getting to interact with a lot of the stuff there. I believe there was even at one point we had established that there was uh an idol to the goddess of fortune on the ship that Ascara had even prayed to. But the biggest one was the last time Ascara was banished. The ship was at sea, frozen in time, with an exploding volcano on the land next to me. Still don't know fully what that's all about. So that'll be
So on the map, you were on the ship. There were two things that you interacted with when you were on the ship. First one was the rum thing. So so you took something from, I will say the coin actually was the goddess not there. That was something else that happened.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yeah.
So much happens over a year and a half of doing this or whatever that it gets a little jumpy.
And wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. And I think one of the cool things, like, it's foreshadowing is, we're like, oh crap, what happened? And I remember it clicking in my brain, it's like, this is a problem. Like, I can use this to teleport and, separate ourselves from Wizards of the Coast and stuff is creating a whole new world. So you go to this new plane, and because it's a shift in reality, things aren't there. Like, things are moments in time that you're not able to really connect to. And you get to the second time and you're frozen in time heading towards this. And you look at the map and you see Emerald, which we now know is a place in Viridia, the world that you are going to. And I think that was one of the parts that I think Sucks wasn't at the table, but foreshadowed a lot of things internally for your character. And so there were just a lot of things that hopefully as we now know, we get to have at the we had talked about giving Keenon this one-shot character more story. We kind of talked about himself for time. What are some of the things that came up with Keenon's story, and the discussions that happened on and off table after?
Yeah, so a lot of Keenon's story was pretty well built out by me before they'd even brought the character. The idea that him being a half elf, I was born of an elven family, all that kind of came from me. You definitely amped up the terribleness of his grandfather, at least.
It's like thousandfold.
Oh yeah. But yeah, I know, especially I think we had done a little bit of incorporating him into the world for the one shot, just to make him plausible we'd work together. But then whenever we had talked about actually bringing him into the campaign itself, you and I sat down together like, okay, Eeltar family, power, Waterdeep, getting it more directly established with the world.
Which I think, crazy enough, so you all had interacted with that power in previous pre-stream sections where Harrison was given a letter that would give him, and minutes later, when you went, couldn't get in, and Harrison was like, I'm worried about studying. Wow, what do you think?
I am just now making that connection.
The super exclusive power is now all of a sudden character that's interacting, and I think that brought him in more so than I guess now that we're realizing that more than the party really even realized themselves is, this was a person in the world way back, and we're starting to see into these things.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Now romance. While in-party romance was a thing, there were several relationships in this campaign, with the most shocking being Todd and Hestra. I think that one's pretty fair to say. What are some romances your characters may have taken with NPCs? Josh and Cheyenne, your romance were a little bit of stuff, but if not each other, where do you think you would have ended up? We'll start with actually Escada, who was left in the top of the tower alone.
Yeah. So Ascara did have several, not necessarily romance, but late night interactions with many NPCs, and he certainly had a lot of his, realistically, a lot of his pick of the litter for romances he could have had. His sights were pretty well set on Opal fairly early on, and spending a lot of his time wooing her, or at least attempting to.
Mm-hmm.
And
Feathers ruffled.
yeah, Ascara's tendency to want to show off kind of backfired several times. And then, of course, that damned coat.
Yes.
That literally hard cut off killed that relationship with Opal. Okay, for those who don't know, Opal and Ascara were basically a thing, and because he had this coat, it was cursed. And anytime he had like romantic interactions, it, because he's cursed, made him do things that he wouldn't normally do. So he slept with Cassandra, and yeah.
Right? It was kind of interesting. We had some conversations, and we had discussed, like, after the last episode and stuff, and Opal had made her decision, like, realistically, Ascara and Opal's relationship, while neither Ascara or Opal are toxic people, their relationship did have a level of toxicity to it, to where nothing would have ever been stable for Opal.
Yeah.
Ascara was too flighty, for lack of a better term. No pun intended.
I mean, never once did I think that Opal was going to end up with Parison. At the beginning, it was Opal and Ascara for the longest time. That's what it was, and then eventually evolving, and then Opal realizing, oh my goodness, Harrison's been there for every emotional breakdown for Opal.
Yeah. Before we get to that though,
The NPCs, sorry.
Lysander, you basically had nothing.
No, not a single thing.
If Lysander had maybe spent more time, do you think he would have ended up with something? Do you think he will end up with anyone? Maybe an NPC in the New World?
The pre-opening up Lysander definitely would not have. He was definitely very against getting close to people. because the closest people he knew tried to kill him.
Yeah.
Or at least he thought they were close. And I mean, it's not too far fetched, but it would definitely take a lot because he's already still right on that fence with these folks he's been with for the last several weeks that he's really actually gotten to bond with, and to just have somebody else, he's probably gonna have a lot of walls and a lot of thick walls.
Yeah. That just means poured out, or worn down.
Yeah, probably more worn down.
Now to the two lovebirds. Josh, we'll start with you. If not Opal, who Harrison had several late night interactions with some people. Uh, 3 people
At once.
At once.
um,
4
who
total.
would have Kirsten have ended up with if not Opal?
That's a really good question. We started that way early on pre-stream with Coneyberry, a little awful that clearly doesn't
it's the
exist
problem with
anymore.
Tony Berry, yeah.
Honestly, I don't think Harrison really knew a whole lot of the town folks too well for Fandolin, even though they kind of hailed us as heroes.
So school
I'm sure
teacher
there's
that
probably.
was hitting on you.
Go ahead.
There was a school teacher that was hitting on you. It was very early on.
Probably forgot about that over the course of a year's worth of playing.
Oh, I don't think, so we got to the last episode, the night of making your choice.
Mhm.
And it was a roll of the dice, and it ended with Escada.
Yeah.
We went to break, we came back, and then Harrison. You left Escada on the roof
Mhm.
alone. Whereas I can still see he's still outside. If not Harrison, if not Escada,
Right.
who would Opal end up with?
So I did a lot of thinking on it. I was thinking, okay, really NPCs, the only one that Opal interacted with much. Okay, your NPCs for men was Cod, who was dumb. You had some gay characters and you had some really old characters. So I no.
Nice it is for Magma.
Actually, it's not anymore. But
No.
You never know.
But yeah, no, I thought about it. The only NPC that Opal really got close to was Heathcraft. But
which was a romance. He offered to stay in Fandolin with you. And you denied it, and then he left, and then he died.
yeah. But Opal wouldn't have done that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, the character wise, she wouldn't have done that. But yeah, that was about the only one. But then when I really sat down and thought about it, if we had more time with Keenon, I know. Just give me a minute. If
I can use my save.
that was his reaction as well. She would have tried to go after Keenon. Now, I know she hated his guts at the beginning, but he had a similar thing that Opal had towards Magma. Completely. They were completely hated because of the way they were born, the way they looked. Because of that, she would have probably tried to romance Keenon.
And Keenan would have shut her down so hard.
I'm just
It would have
saying
been
that's
brutal.
what been
Good thing you didn't get that far.
Yeah. But I'm just saying that's what would have been what she would have tried to do.
Now, Josh, this is your first time playing D&D. Of course, now we're streaming it, so it's like a lot more pressure. But what are some takeaways for people interested in playing, maybe for their first time, maybe they're interested in it? What are some takeaways you've had, and you've had main character energy like throughout this, despite being inexperienced? So what would you have to say with this?
I'd say it's a lot of fun. Anybody that's looking to get into it for the first time, definitely find a great group of friends, such as I have here.
Where?
Definitely, yeah, this whole virtual thing is hard whenever everyone lives 4 hours from me.
We keep giving you an option to make it so much easier.
To be fair, he's giving us options to move down there too, but
I would love
That right,
that.
Kathy.
yeah. But yeah, I think it really goes to show you joined a group of people who have varying levels of play, um, and hopping in this with little to no experience in DC, learning a little bit more when you start playing Boulder Cable. At that point, we had only been playing for a year. Um, it's been awesome watching you come out of your shell, and bring this character to life that was just this very basic guy who's developed into this now romance like character who has brought stability, who's brought a lot of different aspects to the campaign. So it's been a pleasure there.
But now he's lost all his stability.
Yeah. And then other parts of your character, you had some main character energy with the depth of many things. What was that like for you playing the cards?
With it being a luck of the draw aspect, knowing that there's a lot of bad cards and a lot of good. For Harrison, he's seen some people have some bad luck with it, but for him, it's just been nothing but good luck.
It's crazy because like some of the guys like here at this have only drawn bad.
The rest of us, it was we drew one good, one bad that almost fully nullified each other. So we ended up purely net
Yeah.
neutral.
Um,
Still haven't gotten my house.
High up ship, potentially.
There you go.
So our one shots introduced, I think one of the coolest aspects of our campaign is you are playing in the world at the time your players are adventuring. Actually, within probably a mile or less of your main characters. You played these guys with real world consequences. Your actions had huge ripple effects. What were some of your favorite moments, or speak about some moments that you had making decisions that you knew would affect the world?
Our first one shot had maybe the most terrifying moment in our entire campaign when it's we need to get to this place fast. There's a carriage pulling up. Let's rob this guy in his carriage. Sounds like a good idea. Yeah, I'm taking this wood down to this little town called Fandolin to rebuild an orphanage. Oh my God, we're about to rob the orphanage wood guy. The deep-seated fear we're about to destroy everything we worked for in our main campaign setting in was horrifying.
Playing Bruchard Bacon, this guy who really had little regard, but he didn't know who he was, but was just there. And I was waiting for it. I was like, this is gonna go one of two ways.
If it wasn't for the objections of the other people in the party, Bruchard would have gone on with robbing that guy.
And in that same one, another person who appeared briefly was Nidandi, who turned on that party. Josh, Nidandi, what was it like bringing that and the consequences that led with him?
I almost won that fight.
So that was definitely a lot of fun, just given the character, and then it was a whole blank character sheet of that too. It's like, so what are we going to do with it? And as the story progressed, I was like, What if let's just be the wild card? Let's turn on the party, see where this goes.
I know that was a moment. It was so everyone had rolled for their characters. It was all random on who you were going to be playing, what characters you did. It's all blank character sheets, and they had to learn who they were. And Gandhi being a Neverwinter side versus the others being Waterdeep in this war that was going on, and the acting just, I'm gonna hand this to you. You can turn on them. I'm texting him while we're playing, and I'm like, you have freedom to do this. So it's like, I'm gonna hand you a moment, like, you can act on it or not. Like, this is still your choice, but I want you to know that you have the ability to do this. And when he rolled with it, I remember the shock of like the table being like, oh no, this is happening. And fortunately, like, it didn't end with Nathani's death. I think it led to big parts.
Yeah, because it had gotten down to he had, I think, 1 HP left.
Yeah.
Fired an arrow in his like running that killed Brutar, my character,
Yeah.
on his way out. It was that those are such tense dice rolls right through there.
Yeah.
I think I almost got
and
this
then-
character killed too at that point.
And most character who really, I think, brought some more chaos out was
Yes.
a shapeshifter
Uh-huh.
and a man in a form.
Yeah.
Confusion on right.
Oh, just wait. Okay. So, yeah, no,
It's better than what you think it is.
everybody's laying down for the night to camp out, and there's this hunter who has just made a kill, is asking to get warmed up by the fire, and it, it eventually led to my character going from a female form, just shape shifting, and then having, doing the deed with him. Yeah,
And
yeah,
him with female parts.
right.
I have no idea what this
Which we did before Baldur's Gate.
So we did before ball.
They stole it from us.
And then yeah, you have Barutar who then wakes up and he's like, oh, round two. And
Yeah,
then you move on to the second one, which had less real world for most characters.
you didn't say that he got killed.
He died, yes.
Say-
Barutar thought he was just being a rapist and killed him. Split him right down the middle.
To be fair, Nathandi disintegrated his private area first.
That I forgot about that. The second one shot, though, introduced Ryan to the table, and I think really there weren't a ton of consequences from that. The only one that really flew things forward, which I don't even remember your character's name, was Battle's Death. You have to leave it in the campaign, so.
I needed room for other backup characters. I'm not paying for a subscription that I'm not going to use.
Look at me.
Yeah,
I have to store my 40-something characters somewhere. All right.
I think those had some amazing moments.
Rick, he'll be able to plug into that outlet to charge it. Is about to die.
Make that. So how much we can
We were low budget, all right. You can't even afford functional chairs.
I'm walking to the thrift store for $4 each. Well, I don't expect much from them.
I'm just glad you broke it and not me the one time I was sitting in it. I thought for sure we were going to be streaming, and then I was just going to be gone from
Falling over it, it is lopsided. There's a whole lot going on there.
But while we wait on this, if you've been watching, please consider donating. Hardhead, I just sent the link into the chat. Follow that. It helps people who cannot afford mental health therapy, treatment, get it. Whether they have insurance or not, Hardhead bridges that gap And so it's a wonderful organization. When you donate through that link, nothing goes through us. We don't ever see that. It immediately goes to the organization thanks to Spotify, who we partner with. So please consider donating because it really is an important part of what we do. We always want to cause diabetes being first one as type 1 diabetic itself, and then hearthead, as we all have just different issues around mental health, reducing stigma, and providing treatment to those who need it most. And as he returns,
We return.
you return. Biggest joke of the campaign.
Brilliant.
We return. No, you said it wrong. We return. We return. There it is. Weeks had few key moments from the locks on the windows to Eldic joining his party, your young bride, and her transformation. What were some of your expectations going into the feast versus what actually happened? Are we laughing at the same thing?
Yeah.
Well, anyways, well, actually, I want to start with someone who didn't have direct connection. Lysander, so you went in and you immediately ran upstairs, right? You were going to the windows, right? Or was that Opal?
No, I think that was Harrison,
It's
wasn't it?
me.
I know,
Yeah,
I didn't
that
go
was
to the
me.
windows.
That was him. Yeah.
Oh, then let's start with Person. So Person, you went up to the windows, like, so you see the girl barred and chained, like, what was your intention, like, what came with that?
So basically, I kind of wanted to see what was going on with the area around if we were obviously walking into a trap, a big army sort of deal coming in.
Yeah. Now, going through it, you had some perception check, and I forget who succeeded it on seeing the armor beneath Nightshade People's Opal. You get this look in seeing what is potentially the reference that I brought forward is the Friend Wedding. You see the people that are, of course, supposed to be his friendly wedding feast wearing armor.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you think it was going to go when you saw that? Or what did, before even arriving at the wedding, what were your expectations?
No, I figured there was going to be some type of battle. I had honestly thought that we would end up needing to fight Eldic here. Like I thought for sure that the Beast we're gonna have a major battle, and it's just going to be super chaotic, and we're gonna end up having to kill our friend. That is what I thought was going to end up happening.
But it turned out being sacked off.
Opposite.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think there was, and I could say, I remember playing at the table, looking at all of your faces as like confused. I was like, what? And then like as the realization hit, now Keenan, the episode before, your character cast a spell on Lady Reyna, and you thought it was a success. You're going into this knowing that she will likely cancel,
Mm-hmm.
and she does. But what broke your expectations there?
I mean, the Realm Guard showing up and suddenly Keenan's effectively head of the family.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, but things were positioned for him to be his grandfather being taken down in that moment, as well as many other. I mean, we didn't say any specifics, but I imagine higher up members of the family that would have been more of a part of his inner circle. And it's like this power vacuum that's suddenly just left there. And that speech from Keenan was in no way planned. I did not have an intention of giving a speech with Keenan, but it was like, no, this moment is ripe. Keenan would not
And
miss this chance.
like moments that happen at the table that require genuine. We've had a couple of things where there are going to be interactions, and I know a couple of you have like, okay, this is what I want to say, so I don't mess it up. And I think the raw intentionality behind it, because you went in as bottom of the food chain and came out on top. And so Lady Hirabosa, as she's like describing this, is like, I met this man for some brief moments. He was hesitant, he was resistant, showed himself with honor. He's the only one who deserves it. And I think that brought your character, not only was fighting great, like as an ending, but you got several resolutions throughout that piece and the end. You were honored with leader of your family. You were honored uh, with continuing forward and not being forced to marriage. And you, at the very end, got your part. Um, and now we're into a world where you get to redefine your part.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it is going to be one that brings a lot out. And there were a lot of twists there. But Lysander, or do you have something that you want to say?
So I just had a thought pop in my head. If I adopt a child, can name it after the most impactful loss that we had in the world ending. Rip Rayton.
Rayton was that one little like twerpy kid,
Like orcs.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So this guy, because I made up the people and names on the spot, and I forced him to roll with it.
I hate referencing other shows, but it just reminded me so much of Calamity. And yeah, this is my partner. What was her name? Uh, but like, Brennan just had to run off of like this character of like, Sam's like, here's my date.
Oh yeah, the date, the news reporter girl.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
Like, was it like,
Outline, but
oh yeah. It's like, I'm like, or
Ray time.
I'm like, okay, here's some price for this guy. Just roll with this. It was a lot of fun bringing impromptu characters and getting to give resolution to a character who got to spend a little bit of time with the party and can now resolve and leave. Lysander, you're a person who is in the shadows and, you got to meet the person you were impersonating. So he came in and you just see this dagger at this guy's throat and it reveals like this cloak billowing out. And then all of a sudden the words come out. All right, mate. That
I love
Yes.
incredible. I knew you're like, who is this guy? And like the processing of like, it's me. That's it. Yeah. It's the guy.
And I think you were the last person to figure it out too, which made it even better.
because it was completely made up. I would assume like he would never have met this dude. So like the original impersonation was just all on a whim.
So your character was given like bits of information. So you tweaked to get it close enough. You were chosen because of your likeness. And
Other than the Australian accent.
Lysander just can't do Australian.
No, he does depressed.
the ending brought a few crazy moments, some revelations that I think brought a lot of shock because everything at the end changed. There were several things that we knew like were absolute. The discussion that we had at the table was held in control. That was second, like he was a person who we had at our table who has stepped away. And we needed to resolve his character. We didn't want him to disappears. We brought Jake back for the finale. We knew he was going to die. Ryan and I, producer Ryan and I, both knew the ending that had to happen. Whether you guys were successful or you failed, only affected what the world looked like they can go. What were some revelations that happened, moments of joy during the end, and the realization that came through of the new world?
Well, we got to explore my backstory in the episode before, with the whole trial and the king that we just read about in the library from hundreds of years ago, and all of a sudden he's my dad. That was it was nice that we got to explore that in the world before the world was not the world. Because I felt like there would not have been much sense in any in the new world. Obviously, I'd known about this for a really long time. God. But being able to explore that, like even just within the episode, there was so much that you packed in there. Like it just resolved the entirety of his backstory, really.
And so what I think one of the downsides is, we're now getting to be more consistent. We're working on being every other weekend. Like we're gaining an audience. Is being consistent. We had some scheduling conflicts that took what was going to be 4 episodes more and turned it into 1. And so it was oh crap, it's like you were going to, the downside is the cool thing is we now get to start our going to tell story. It had to happen, and we set a timer, and we're like, we're all going to be able to get that. And one of the things was I had a full-on quest of you guys going to the Zen farm and finding. You weren't just going to be bamfed into the Court of Eyes, and
They almost weren't.
yeah, that is. I think the craziest thing about that episode was Josh's character. Josh was late. He was going to be joining.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And the crazy thing is how the dice tell stories. And I am a big proponent of the dice call it. You'll see, I do above table rolls because I want you all to know the dice are telling the story in this moment. And it was one of those things that Josh wasn't supposed to be there. And I spent a lot of his gold, but it doesn't matter anymore.
It's all gone now.
It's all gone.
You're welcome.
So that was an
Defeats my
interesting
whole-
thing to happen. It was a huge floor up. And it was going to be you get to explore the court of ice. There was a door in that courtroom. But it gives us things now that as we start new, we can tell more stories. And I think will give future characters some cool things to roll and say because they're practice. You never know what life is going to do. We never know what Scott is going to do on Cold War. Because once these characters resolve, and you get to experience the world from people who have been there. Well, first we have to explore the world from people who bamfed in there. You wrote that. But the finale brought a lot of other things. So for Keenan and Scott, what things at the end play into you guys?
Yeah, so Keenan getting reunited with Vandross first in the spirit form there, which literally I wasn't in the session I wasn't pushing for that to be or anything. When you said 2 spirits are coming in, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, yep, Vandross is one of them. What am I gonna do now? And so that was crazy. And then just Ascara seeing, you see, as part of Ascara's wish and stuff, he hears, oh, there's going to be this new world, and Ascara's like, a new world means an unexplored world. I get to go and be the first, the pioneer to map it all out. And so Scar is like low-key kind of stoked.
Yeah.
I would drop in automaton ship. Hi.
That's where we am. And I mean, it was a shock, I think, to all of you. That this little automaton being in first degree. Awful. What things played into you with
Okay, so being extremely shocked with, okay, I'm thinking that Magma's going to die. To then, I'm hearing like a God's type voice that sounds like Magma. Oh my God, it's Magma! Like, and then Magma offering Opal to become a god right after the romance stuff. That, and then having to turn that down, and then also the automaton thing. Opal's a hippie. I don't know if that's good. Like, everything's gonna be a little more futuristic stuff. Opal's not gonna fit in. This is gonna go well. But yeah, that the magma being a god thing, that shocked me, and to think of how those future interactions are going to end up having to be is going to be.
I can't get rid of a character that I can only get rid of characters that you love. John, what are some things that Harrison had um, that at the end played into his character?
Definitely one of the biggest shocks was the revelation of we're heading back to the Icefire and seeing Cryovane again, just watching the campaign go full circle, that aspect. And definitely after you said that we had went to the new world, like it's something we would embrace, it's going to be a whole crazy thing in comparison to before. Falling into the ocean wasn't on my agenda because Harrison can't swim. So.
Yeah. So yeah, I think there were a lot of things of like Harrison's emotions had to be going crazy because he's got a new partner, someone that chose him, that he's connected to for the last in game probably months, which is crazy for us to really think about. It's only been maybe a year for the characters. Just this person that grown close to, that he's romanced, that he loved. And so I think it was an interesting thing there. And now the very last question. You are going into this place blind. You know Magma ascended to be a god. Faith was beheaded and defeated. Your wishes granted. You have no idea what evils exist in this world. You don't know its history. What do you think awaits you in this world?
It's hard because, like you said, we don't know like a lot of it. We see our only real thing we've seen so far is the automatons and the ship, and so like that automatically makes me think of like potentially it's going to be set a bit more futuristic as well as far as level of time and equipment that there's going to be. It also gives me the idea of like maybe there's going to be a really really rich magic like in this world that we'll get to explore, like whatever's powering these automatons and stuff.
Is that you as
Me, that's me as the player. Uh is the character. It's like Ascara still sees this whole new world he gets to explore. I don't think much of the realization for him is set in yet of the world he lost because he's so overwhelmed with the excitement of the new world.
Yeah.
And Kenon, well, we haven't got to explore it much yet, but being reunited with Vandross, I'm really excited for that, for the next session to see how that goes.
Opal, what as your character and as you the player, what do you?
Like I said, the future stuff. I think that there's going to be the future stuff, and then oh, I don't know exactly what exactly awaits for us there, but I do feel that if it is more futuristic, it's going to be interesting to see how Opal handles that,
Yeah.
being the very nature-based character that she is. And then also too, she's gonna want to try to settle down with Harrison. So she's going to be fighting very hard to have a permanent home.
Lysander, or Ryan, you and Lysander.
Well, as for Lysander, I mean, obviously, me as the player was kind of thrust into this world that has been created over like a year's time, and trying to learn everything as I'm being dragged along. But now I get to experience that world building and exploring with everybody. And I feel like it opens up a lot of opportunities for Lysander himself, um, to almost like reinvent himself now, after, having almost that resolution from his past. Now, uh, he can move on from that and do something with his life other than, stealing prisms or trying to convince a bunch of people that he's actually a librarian or maybe just a bird.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm really excited for what the heck this may be because I mean, they're talking about this could be futuristic. There's automatons or whatever, like all this newness. Um, is probably like I'm really excited to just explore like a whole new setting.
Yeah. Josh, what about you?
It's definitely going to be a big change to try and figure out like what's going to be the same, what's similar to the world we're coming from, how will our characters transition. But like Opal had mentioned, Harrison is still going to try and settle down for a family, and we'll see what else we can await if the party will stay together or what we're looking forward to.
And there's a lot that can really change the makeup this uh, of this party. There's been a lot of resolutions. There's been a lot of connections, and we really get to see how the characters explore the world and make their place. So that is it for the main portion of this. Just for content's sake, I have a couple just quick questions that we're gonna go through, and then kick off. Okay, cool. Alright, yeah. If your character was an ice cream flavor, what flavor would they be?
Oh gosh.
Mint?
Chocolate.
How did you have an answer to that so fast?
S'mores.
And you know what?
S'mores.
S'mores?
Ascar's white, vanilla.
Peanut. Metropolitan.
Swirl. Oh, it actually works. Swirl. You have the vanilla and the chocolate duality. Perfect for Kenon. There you go.
What is your character's favorite color?
Black.
Purple.
Blue?
Green.
Red.
Scar is easy, blue, with sky and water. Kenon, green and gold. It's his colors.
If your character wasn't an adventurer, what livelihood would they lead?
That's easy.
Does pirate count as an adventurer?
No.
Pirate. And then, ruler.
Herbalist. Shop.
Definitely a mercenary.
Yeah.
Definitely a hunter or forager.
More specifically, politician.
Yeah. If your character wasn't whatever class they are, what would they be instead?
Ascara was almost a fighter. Like, it wasn't until I found the swashbuckler subclass, and even then I almost tried to adapt it as a fighter, because I felt like a pirate should be more of a fighter class than a rogue class.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Kenan.
Kenon, I always like the idea of toying around with sorcerer ideas. So, maybe some type of sorcerer. Could have learned magic, be inherited magic.
Yeah. Oh, well, not a druid. What would she be?
Ranger?
Right? Okay. Not a rogue.
Um,
Only build rogues.
yeah, like, yeah, I don't know what he would be. Probably some sort of magic, maybe like he'd probably still be a sorcerer.
Maybe a warlock.
Yeah, probably a warlock.
Or have a patron.
Yeah,
Like a patron. If not a ranger wizard, what would Harrison be?
Probably a rogue.
Did he say an answer?
Yeah.
Yeah, he has to start talking
Probably a
first.
rogue.
Rogue. Alright. What would your character's theme song, favorite band, or genre of music be?
heavy metal.
Sea shanties. And on the other hand, so it would have been like classical
Yeah.
music, but with the development of Kenon, there's definitely some like edgy emo teen music in there that he listens to when nobody else is around.
Is indie? I think that's the hip. Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably some alternative or dubstep.
Interesting. Is your character willing to risk the well-being of others in order to achieve their goal?
Yes.
Ascara, no. Kenon, yes. Absolutely Kenon, yes. That was his whole plot point in the one shot.
Yeah, I definitely think Pearson wouldn't be willing to risk anybody for that.
Does your character think more with their heart or their brain?
Ascara is all heart. Kenon is 99% brain until Vandross stepped in.
Heart.
Definitely brain.
75%, 25% mix. I'll let you guys decide which is which.
Our brains are really tiny, so there's not a whole lot there to think.
That's with this question. What is your character's sexuality or relationship with sex?
Ascara's pretty open with it. Obviously he had multiple sexual relationships. Kenon, as I said before, technically he would fall under the I think it's called ace category, where he just was not interested in sex or romance. Vandross wasn't until he died that he was like, oh my gosh, I have such a connection with this person. I don't want to be in this world without them. That even came around.
Oh, Opal was very like, you need to get to know me first before she did anything.
Lysander just likes to shut people out. I don't know if you'd call that ace, per se, because, I mean, eventually he'd be open to something, but he's more focused on just
Angry, go.
Pearson would definitely be straight.
What annoying traits does your character probably have that bugs the others?
Ascara's existence.
Lysander, yes, sometimes. That dark perception.
Opal's fascinated, like, whenever she gets really into her potion making. Just like, I'll take that.
Wow. Wow. I would guess for Lysander to just be his lack of wanting to have emotions and actually like bond with people.
I would say for person, it would be sometimes failing to always get everything he sets out to do accomplished.
The very last one. What is your character's guiltiest pleasure? Something that they do that the rest don't know about that they just love.
What did I say? I had answered this when you had texted. I don't remember my answer. I'm trying to think. Oh my gosh, I had an answer for this. You'd randomly asked this one time.
It's like I was preparing you for something.
That was weeks ago.
I have no idea.
Same.
Oh, oh God. Okay, wait. There, I found it. Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember. So Skara, we had a thing early on where Skara was like doing his nails, like filing them down real sharp. So Skara has Skara has this thing for like manicures. Yeah. And like really likes getting his nails done. Like they even said like back when he traveled with Boschar, they dock at this one port, and Scar would like sneak off to get his nails done real nice and sharp, perfect to slice things open with. Yeah.
I guess, Opal liked to just randomly shapeshift and go off into the woods a lot. So I guess that would be it, just to be an animal for a bit and without anybody knowing and just live the life of an animal for a little bit.
Well,
Uh,
I feel like, especially after the whole key to the heart thing, he'd probably just like when he's by himself, just go hang out with mom.
Person, what's your guiltiest pleasure?
Not anything extreme, but just a little bit of gambling on the side.
And Kegon's.
Well now is canonically that emo music. That was just determined now.
Alright. Well, thank you for joining us here.
I actually have so Tyler doesn't know this, but I texted everyone else beforehand that had a little bit of a surprise for you. So obviously we get to play one singular character throughout this whole campaign, or maybe two. You get to play multiple faces. But I had the brilliant thing when creating assets for our second season. Might as well just show you here what I've come up with a little bit. Didn't think this through very much, so I'm just going to turn this around a little bit. You can see what's going on here. But get a little sneak peek at season two's assets. Some nice new character art. But for our wonderful DM who plays multiple faces but has one face, the DM. This will be featured on all our streams in place of use, and so you get to be like, oh, unless you have an AI generated Tyler.
Oh, I love it.
Well, there we go.
Oh,
Surprise.
well, thank you. Oh my god, that's awesome. I really can't wait for this next bit. I'm so excited to get back at the table with you guys and all the stuff that we have planned. So please check us out, follow us. Have a good rest of your night. Bye.
I